And are there subterranean intelligences living alongside humans on this planet?
There are some. That doesn't mean there's a hollow earth in your dimension. But there are some subterranean beings that do exist on your planet simultaneously with you. There are not many. Mostly those that you would consider to be other civilizations, subterranean, are in other dimensions that just appear to be inside your planet. But there are a few physical beings that do live in subterranean enclaves on your planet that you are not necessarily aware of. Yes.
How prevalent is it that there are ships in the oceans?
Do you mean extraterrestrial craft?
Yes. Oh, sorry. Yes, of course.
It's relatively common because there are bases under the oceans, under the ocean floors, and are visited quite often by various extraterrestrial crafts, just as there are bases that are also underground on land and bases on your moon and Mars.
Are there a number of bases on the, within the Hawaiian Islands?
There are a couple. All right, a few.
Can I ask about a specific location?
If you wish. Doesn't mean I'll answer you.
Okay. Kealakekua Bay?
Nearby.
There have been sightings there.
Nearby.
Nearby.
Nearby. Not in it, but nearby.
Okay. Are the beings responsible for creating our species and our scientific level of intelligence also responsible for the nuclear weapons that this intelligence has produced?
If you're referring to the idea of the Anunnaki, they did have a science that was understood by some that did allow for the development of nuclear devices. They didn't provide them, though, if that's what you're asking.
Okay. And did the Sasquatch interact heavily with the Conestoga people, who are also known as the Susquehannock, found on the Susquehannock River? And if so, modern people believe this culture is extinct because of conflict in the 1700s. Did some of them travel with Sasquatch to other dimensions?
Yes. And that's all we will say about that.
Okay. And are ancient Egypt giants Anunnaki?
Some of them certainly have a lot of Anunnaki blood. They are mostly ancient Atlanteans that have a lot of Anunnaki blood, many of which still existed on Earth in the late periods after the destruction, the third phase of destruction of Atlantis, and became known as the Anunnage. You can look them up. Anunnage, Anannage, Anunnage, which is a corruption of Anunnaki. But many of these are ancient Atlanteans who survived and went to different areas on your planet that had a lot of Anunnaki blood.
Okay, and this is a question about the U.S. congressional hearings on the UFOs.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, does that foreshadow a change in the collective energy leading to the beginning of the open window of contact?
It does, of course, even though not much information actually was offered in that meeting. The fact that it is recognized as a public meeting that professes to take the subject seriously is a step forward in the evolution of contact. Yes, of course.
And this person is saying, I read that the U.S. government or military doesn't want to admit UFOs are from outer space and friendly because then there would be no need to have huge budgets to protect ourselves against them. Is that accurate or?
Yes. In general, yes. There are exceptions, but yes.
And in the news this week, there was also a picture of a doorway on planet Mars. And is that picture true?
No comment.
Okay. All right. And there'll be a device in the future that will help access the unconscious mind and discover our negative beliefs. Can you tell us what kind of a device that would be?
It will be an AI device.
And is it connected with the internet? Because you've talked about how we would be able to talk with our higher minds through the internet. I guess it's sort of a representation of that idea.
It's not the internet as you know it, but it will be something similar.
Okay, and can you tell us something about advances in health and medicine, what they might look like that would help us continue to evolve and move towards greater and greater open contact?
Eventually, it will all be based on the understanding of resonance and frequency of energy.
So eventually will we be able to like regrow limbs or
Yes.
restore senses?
Yes.
All of those things?
Yes.
And will it be through the use of AI? Because right now we already see that happening where
Partly, yes. It can be aided by AI, yes. But it has to do with frequency and resonance.
Okay. And lastly, this one says the cultural belief that change is created through rage, rejection, and punishment seems to be gaining momentum, at least in our society and maybe even worldwide. And can you help us understand what an individual can do to shift that so that we have a more smooth progression to our evolved future? Or is this whole period of quote unquote negativity that the world seems to be going through just part of our growth process to get us to that?
Depends on how you use it. As we have said, you're getting everything out on the table because it's the end of the cycle. You're shifting into a new cycle. You have to be able to see every possible choice and every possible opportunity to be a living example of better choices, of more positive choices, without necessarily needing anyone to choose them. But the idea is to be a living example of that. That's how you can help. But remember, again, you're never going to change the planet you're on. You're going to shift to another version of Earth that will be more and more reflective of the changes you make within yourself. But being a living example through the actions that you take that are more representative of a positive reality will allow those who are inclined to do so to also choose and match those frequencies in a more positive way. But again, the idea is unless you see all of the negativity, you won't know what choices necessarily there are to make or not make. So you're getting it all out on the table. So you give yourself the freedom to choose what you truly prefer and leave behind what you truly do not.
And for those that are concerned about nuclear in the current situations that are happening, you've mentioned that full-out nuclear war would not be allowed to happen on this planet because of the effect that it would have in other dimensions, etc.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes, but limited nuclear strikes we cannot necessarily prevent.
So if there's a limited nuclear strike that then turns into a full-out exchange, is that would, like if there was a limited nuclear strike and then someone retaliated in a limited way, would that qualify as being allowed to happen, or would it only be that it would be stopped at that point?
We would gauge the ultimate effect of any reaction and determine whether or not it would reach the level where it would interfere with other dimensions. It will be allowed as long as it does not cross over into other realities that are not yours. As soon as it reaches the level where it would do so, it would be stopped.
Okay. And just in keeping with the idea that there are things happening on our planet that are very challenging for all of us, or a lot of us.
Yes.
In terms of a positive way to look at the war and what is happening, what is our best method for doing that?
Do not instruct you in that. You have made this too political, and we are not allowed into your politics that deeply. We would simply say, once again, look for those who exhibit the idea of courage, of strength, of positivity, of doing things in a way that can mitigate things without the idea of violence and force, but who also are willing to defend themselves. Allow yourself simply, again, to continue to be living examples and take the actions necessary to demonstrate to others that they do not have to operate out of fear, that they do not have to operate out of control and lack. It's up to you. It's your planet. We can only go so far in aiding and assisting you. You have to make the decisions that work for everyone in the most harmonious way and help those who live in fear to understand there is another way. We have to leave most of that up to you to use the tools we have shared with you in ways that can be of assistance and service to all. It's your planet.
Thank you, Bashar. We really appreciate your perspective and all that you share with us.
It is always our passion and our pleasure and our gratitude and appreciation for allowing these exchanges to occur. Depending upon what you do with this information will make all the difference in all the different versions of Earth that you choose to experience as you move forward on your evolutionary path.